All right. Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Friday night wealth creation course, Finance Friday, as we like to call it. If you're just tuning in, I want to thank you for joining us. We do these courses every week. We do these on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Zoom, all over the place. And the purpose of this course, the reason why I do this every week is to provide financial education. Okay, to provide financial education. So whether you're just starting out, whether you've been interested in finances for quite some time, whether this is a stream that you've never seen before, I want to make sure that we all have an opportunity to become financially educated. Okay. Financially educated means that we understand money. We understand how it works. We understand how to earn it. We understand how to save it and where to save it. We understand how to invest it and where to invest it. And really, it's something that all of us have the ability to understand if we really do put our minds to it and we really do get the right information about it. So that's kind of what we're covering tonight. Now, before we dive into things, I want to cover a couple of ground rules. So as we go into this tonight, we're going to be covering the topic of how to stay the course with finances. Okay, how do we stay consistent? Because much of personal finance is behavior. And when it comes to behavior, it comes down to what do I do with my actions, right? What do I do on a day-to-day basis? And how does that stack up and add up with the goals that I have for myself? And so that's really the topic that we're covering is, if we have a plan, if we have goals, if we have ambitions with finances, how do we stay consistent? How do we stay on track? Now, a little bit about me. I'm 28 years old. I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar business. I've got a net worth of over $1 million by quite a bit. And I've been able to do all that by this age, much because of the knowledge that I gained about finances, which was something that I worked for. And then B was my behavior. I actually mastered what do I do in order to, improve my finances on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So that's going to be our topic. But as we're diving into this, I want to really cover a couple of things. So first thing is, again, money is simple. Okay. Money is simple. So as I'm going through this, if you hear anything that sounds complex, complicated, I want you to realize that money is simple. Money comes down to basic math. Can I add? Can I subtract? Can I multiply? Can I divide? If I can, I should be able to understand money. The thing that makes money seem complex is actually the vocabulary. Okay, I say this every week. So if there's vocabulary that I say, things that I bring up, words that I use that don't make sense to you, I want you to let me know in the comments. Ask lots of questions. Okay, and this week should be, again, pretty simple. We're not diving into like the concepts and strategies as much as we're diving into what do I do, right? How do I act? How do I behave with finances? Second thing is ask questions for sure. Like I said, drop those in the comments. We will answer those towards the end tonight. If you're on Zoom, as usual, we're going to go through and answer your questions live on air. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, unfortunately, you guys have to ask those just in the comments and I'll answer those regular. And then third is be positive. This is a feed on a Friday night for people that want to learn about money. Okay. So that means that there are people that exist that are taking time out of their week on a Friday to sit with us and to learn about finances and how to improve their lives. So there's also a group that just has nothing better to do on a Friday, but to go through Instagram and Facebook feeds and troll people and be negative and be annoying in the comments. The second group, we love you guys, but this is not the place or the time for that. Be respectful for those that are investing the time to learn about finances, since that's what this feed is about. Okay. Again, I'm going to hit, there's two groups. There's producers and consumers. Okay. Producers, they add value to the situations they're in. They add contribution, they add questions, they add ideas, they add positivity. Producers are good. We want more of those. Consumers take. Okay, they take time, they take attention, they take money, they take away people's focus, they distract, they consume. It's all about me, 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 me. So someone that's negative in the comments is a consumer. A consumer will never be financially independent. It's impossible. Okay, so have some self-awareness with that. And if you aspire to be financially successful, make sure we start with our mindsets tonight on being contributors and producers rather than consumers, takers, and distractions. So without further ado, I want to jump into my topic, and I want to dive into this because, again, my background, obviously, for the most part is finances. But as I talked about last week, I used to be a bodybuilder, and I actually used to be a head personal trainer at the largest gym in the state of Alaska. And I did that at the age of 18, 19 into my early 20s. And so that was something that I really saw a parallel on. Okay. Finances and fitness. For me, they really went hand in hand. Okay. As a personal trainer, as a bodybuilder, I realized, hey, if I want to get in shape, I need to know what I want to look like. I need to have goals. I need to be working out every day. I need to be on a diet. I need to be counting my calories, eating the right types of food, all of those things, right? But similarly, when I started getting involved in finances, I realized, hey, I need to be earning income. Okay, I need to be earning income. That's kind of like my diet. What am I taking in? We talked about this last week. That's like my income. If I'm not eating, I can't lose weight or gain weight or build muscle. So I need to have income, just like I need to have food going into my body if I'm going to go to the gym. Going to the gym, it's kind of like budgeting. I'm burning calories. That's my outgo. So I need to be very, very intentional with my financial diet of going to the gym and burning my expenses off and making sure that I'm spending the right areas. I'm getting the most bang for my buck, right? And so that translated very well for me. Then I got into supplementation. Hey, in the gym, there's vitamins, there's proteins we can take, there's pre-workouts, there's post-workouts, there's intra workouts, there's all these things we can take. And supplementation will help someone that's already working out and that's already eating right. Okay, but it won't help somebody that's not doing the workouts and eating right already. Right. And so that's kind of like with finances, there's these tools that we have. We have investments and we have insurances and we have tax planning and all this different stuff that we can be using with our finances. But those are the supplements. If we're not going to the gym every day, supplements can't help us. If we're not eating right, supplements can't help us. So those are all the things, and you can get deep into that, but that's where I saw the correlations. And so when I started personally saying, hey, I want to get my money right. I want to improve my finances. I want to no longer be paycheck to paycheck. I want to no longer have to trade time for money. I want to be in a position where if someone in my family gets sick, I don't have to work and miss that last time with them. I had that happen with my mom. Okay. And so with that being said, I started looking at this thing as okay, I need to learn about money. Okay, I need to learn about money. I need to be earning income every day. I need to be making sure that I'm monitoring and accounting for my expenses every day. And then in addition to that, I need to have the right supplements, the right products, the right services, the right things to take me to the next level. But there was something I was missing. Okay, because there were days that I didn't want to go earn income. There were days where I had better things to do. There were days where I didn't want to monitor my expenses. There were days where I didn't have time to study about finances and to learn about money. And so what I started looking at was, okay, well, how do I stay consistent? Because it seemed for me like I would start this and I'd start doing things to earn income and track my expenses and try and get all the right behaviors down, but then I'd fall off the boat. Okay, I would get distracted. Something would come in that would pull me off, right? And so with that, I started really looking at, okay, well, how do I change that? Because I was tired of starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping. Okay. And so when I really looked into this for myself, I realized, okay, this comes down to behavior. I need to look at my behavior, just like going to the gym. As a personal trainer, when I was working at the gym and I was doing bodybuilding, I had so many instances of people that would start a workout plan and they would maybe do it for a month, or maybe they would do it for a week, but then they would fall off and they would get busy or they would have something happen. And then you just don't see them at the gym ever again. Okay. Or they're tracking their calories, they're doing their diet, and then you just never see them doing that anymore. Right. So I started really looking at, okay, behavior. How do we master behavior? And I covered this last week with behavior. We have this idea that it takes 66 days to build a habit. Or it takes 21 days to build a habit. Who's ever heard that? Okay. 21 days to build a habit is not correct. Okay. Scientifically speaking, there's actually tests that have been done that prove that it takes closer to about 66 days. 66 days of doing something day in and day out. If I'm trying to build a habit, if I'm trying to break a habit, that's 66 days of not doing that thing day in and day out. And that's the bare minimum. Some cases it can take up to a year. So what we're saying here is if I want to learn about money, let's say my thing is I want to increase my income. I want to get better at sales. That means for at least 66 days in a row, I have to work on sales. I have to work on my craft. I have to work on improving my skill there. If I want to get better at investing, that means every day for 66 days, I've got to be focusing and learning about investments, right? So it's a game of consistency. And what happens is we end up having obstacles and barriers that come up. And I'm going to kind of go over what some of those are. I'm going to share my whiteboard, by the way. So if you guys are on Facebook, if you guys are on Zoom, you guys will be able to see my whiteboard in just a second here. If you're on Instagram, you won't be able to see it. If you would like to, you need to go to my Facebook. You can check out the whiteboard there. But the thing is that we've got to look at, we have to look at things that are going to distract us and things that are going to derail us. Okay, distract means that it changes our course, right? We talked about this a few weeks ago. We're going from point A to point B, right? That's our goal. And so the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So the reasonable thing here would be, if I'm trying to get from point A to point B, the fastest and easiest way for me to do that is just to go from point A to point B. Okay. But a distraction, it pulls me off in this direction, and I go to point C first. And then I come over here and I might go visit point D for a little bit. And then I come back here and I might visit point E for a little bit. And then I finally get to point B. But it takes long, and I can't duplicate it because I went over here and here and here and here and here. Right. So that's one of the things we've got to look at is distractions. And then the other thing we've got to look at is we've got to look at things that derail us completely. Right. Like we're going on point A to point B, and we're on a certain track with our finances. We're doing this thing with my clients called the Big 3 Challenge. Okay. So this would be like a track, the Big 3 Challenge. Every day we're studying money. Every day we're earning income. Every day we're monitoring and accounting for our expenses. Those are the big 3. And so we do this every single day. The goal is to do that for 90 days. And after 90 days, that changes financial behavior. It no longer becomes a thing where we need discipline, because now it's just a habit, right? Habits dictate our lives, whether they're good or whether they're bad. So we all have bad habits that maybe we currently have, or in the past we've had. I know I have, where I didn't have to think about it. I would just do it. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. It was negative. It was a bad habit, but it was something that was second nature to me because I had done it so often, right? Similarly, we can have good habits. Okay, good habits are things we build up, like, for example, hopefully brushing your teeth, right? Or bathing or showering, like things that we don't have to think about. It doesn't take discipline to be like, man, I should go take a shower. Okay, hopefully that's not the case. Like eating, we don't have to have discipline to eat. We already have that habit built. Breathing, we don't have to think about that. So we can have bad habits that dictate our lives and make things difficult. We can also have good habits that help our lives. And by helping our lives, it actually can almost automate. It can almost automate some of these things that we've got to do. And this idea of automation is very popular nowadays. So what I'm saying is, with finances, it's going to take things like earning income, studying money, accounting for the expenses, all the stuff that we're talking about today. But what if we could automate some of those to where we didn't have to think about it, to where it just happened? Now, with behavior, we cannot do that through technology. We do that through discipline, through habit. We turn something into a habit. We no longer have to think about it, but we have to do it long enough for that actually to become reality, right? So the derailing, we talked about the distractions and then the derailing. If we're going from point A to point B, derailing means that we're going over here and we're traveling along this line and something throws us off entirely and we're just done. Right? It derails us. I've seen this happen with clients with, relationships, with politics, all sorts of things where they're doing fine. And then some event happens and it just totally consumes them and pulls them off. And then we never hear from them again. And then a year later, they come out of the rubble somewhere and they're like, hey, I'm ready to get back on track. Okay. We want to avoid that. Okay. So I'm going to break down what are some of the things that cause this, that do this to us as people, as we're trying to improve our finances. Okay. And again, for me, I relate this to fitness. I'm going to use some analogies. So the first analogy that I want to use here, an analogy is going to be lack of knowledge. Okay. Lack of knowledge makes us prone to distraction. Right. So let's say that I'm doing the Big 3 Challenge. Every day I'm trying to study money. Every day I'm trying to earn income. Every day I'm trying to account for my expenses. But I lack knowledge on the topic of money. And so because I lack knowledge on the topic of money, I don't know how to do these things, right? I don't know how to log into Wealth Dynamics University and study. I don't know what courses to watch, what books to read, right? Or earning income. I don't know how to go exchange with other people to earn income, right? That would be a problem. That would be something that can distract me. And then let's say even with expenses, I don't know how to maybe play the 1 to 5 game and monitor my expenses and rank them and transact correctly. That could be something that prevents me from going. This is kind of like going to the gym, right? You have the intention to go to the gym and then you go there and you realize you don't know how to do any of the workouts. Okay. Who's ever been there? Okay. I've been there before. When I first started going to the gym, I didn't know how to do jack, man. I didn't know how to do anything. I was literally like trying to figure out how the equipment works. Where do I sit? How do I put this thing? Where do my legs go? And so because of that, I struggled with consistency because every time I went in the gym, it was like relearning how to walk. I didn't know what to do. There was no routine. There was no pattern. And so every single time I went in there, it was difficult for me because I lacked knowledge. right? So a lack of knowledge is something that can distract us and derail us from making financial progress. This is one of the first ones we've got to watch out for. Now, the good news is with lack of knowledge, we can solve that by gaining knowledge, right? The solution there is easy, like study money. With Wealth Dynamics University, we have it lined out. If you go in and you go to any one of our segments and you just start training, as a byproduct, you will naturally end up with knowledge on finances. Okay, but if I'm not doing that, that's going to be an obstacle for me. So lack of knowledge. Now, the other thing here, this is a big one. This is going to be over budgeting. Over budgeting. This is a huge one that I see happen. The budgeting thing is fun because I've had people have wins on this where they start budgeting, they start accounting for their expenses. And through the process of accounting for their expenses, they start having wins. They're like, man, I found out that I was spending too much on this area. I just saved, $100 a month. That's back in my budget now. That's residual. Every month I've got $100 back. Right. And so they get really budget happy and they start budgeting and budgeting and budgeting and budgeting and budgeting. Right. Well, what happens with budgeting? Budgeting is not like the diet. Like I said last week, we get confused with budgeting and we're like, hey, the budget is the diet. No, the budget is like the earning, is like the exercise. Right. So when I was a bodybuilder, there's such a thing as overtraining. Overtraining means that I lift too much too frequently and I don't give my body time to rest. And my joints and my ligaments and my tendons get so fatigued that my body starts to wear itself down. And the workouts get harder. And I become less motivated. I start having trouble sleeping and then I don't recover as fast. And then I get prone to injury. That's what happens with budgeting. Okay. So what I'm saying here is with budgeting, like I have to make sure, because again, budgeting is what I'm exerting. It's what I'm burning. It's what I'm spending. That's the equivalent of working out. I have to make sure that if I am budgeting, that I am doing it in a way that is balanced and makes sense. Right. So my budget has to, number one, be sustainable. This is the number one reason why people don't budget. It's not sustainable. You'll hear people diss on budgeting. You'll hear the Grant Cardones and the Robert Kiyosakis of the world say, don't have a budget. Guys, I guarantee you they have CFOs in their company and those CFOs have a budget. Okay, it sounds great as marketing. It doesn't work in practicality to not have a budget. Anyone who says that is either just they don't do the budget themselves and they've outsourced it, which it's still being done. It just means they're not the ones doing it, or they're a blithering idiot. Like every business has a budget. If you go talk to Apple, they have a budget. They're not saying, yeah, we just make whatever and spend as much as we want to. No, they want profit margin, just like you and I should. We work for the income. We should expect to have profitability. Okay. So the budget has to be sustainable. Here's how we solve this, guys. Here's how we solve this. Because again, when I start this game out and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start changing my financial behavior. Right? I have to look at the long game. The budget is something that I want to turn into a behavior so that I don't have to do it every day. So that I don't have to be constantly on the alert that I might spend money that I shouldn't spend. Because what I'm really doing there is when I'm against that, I'm looking at, okay, I just spent money I shouldn't have spent. That's my own personal behavior and my own personal ethics. It has nothing to do with the budget. The budget is just a statistic that represents how I behave with my finances. So if I behave in such a way that I always have random expenses coming up that shouldn't have been there, that I didn't plan for, that I didn't have income for, that's not about the budget. That's about my own behavior and knowledge. The budget is just the symptom. It's the thing that shows me what's going on, right? So on the flip side, let's say that I start getting really into the budget and I start trying to monitor things and pull it down. Like I said, it's not the budget is not the cause point. It's the behavior. So with a budget, we need to create sustainable behavior that actually allows us to burn our expenses out, similar to the way we burn our calories out with exercise. Okay, I don't work legs every single day in a row. I have a balance between I'm going to do legs one day, I'm going to do cardio, I might do push-pull where I do, all the pushing and shoulders and chest and triceps, and then I might do biceps and back and all this other stuff with my workouts. I have a balanced system and plan in order for that to work for my finances. I need to have the same exact thing with my budget, right? So we have this thing called the 1 to 5 game, right? We rate our transactions on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 means it's dumb. We want to stay away from dumb expenses. Dumb expenses are things that nobody needs them. Like we don't need, it's like having an extra set of rims on your car. You don't need that. right? Dumb is having a 60-inch TV when you've got credit card debt and a car loan. You don't need that. That's dumb, right? So we stay away from dumb expenses. That's the equivalent of like fast food, right? Like that's the equivalent of like you don't need to be eating McDonald's every day. Like if you eat McDonald's every day, don't be surprised when you end up obese, right? Twos are things that are bad timing. I don't need this right now. Things that we could wait for that, you know, maybe it's going to be a different timing or down the road. So we want to stay away from twos. Threes are things that are maybes. Fours are things that are survival. Now here's the key. With the budget, we need to understand what is survival. What do we include in this category? Because it's not just beans and rice. That's where people go wrong. They're like, survival means beans and rice. I'm gonna spend as little money as possible, and I'm not gonna enjoy life, and I'm gonna delay everything, and I'm never gonna enjoy my income. Well, then what's the point of getting income? Right? So what is survival? Survival for me breaks down into these categories. I'm gonna put this as a 4 if it's food. Not like I had a client that's like, hey, I just spent $25 on olive oil. That's not survival. That's not food. Okay. So we're saying like your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you eat throughout the day, that's survival, right? Shelter, that's another one. I can have a roof over my head. Transportation, I have to be able to get from point A to point B and go to work, right? Clothing, I need to be able to dress and look professional and whatever else. That's survival, right? Education is another one. I need to be educated. I can't be illiterate and a dumbass my entire life. I need to invest in personal development. That's survival, right? So education is one. Another one is going to be fun. I need to actually have some fun. What if I budgeted for fun? Like that would make things much more sustainable, right? So we've got food, clothing, shelter, education, transportation. Health is another one, right? My personal health, that's survival. I shouldn't feel bad for buying vitamins. I shouldn't feel bad for having a gym membership. I shouldn't be trying to cancel my health insurance. Like those are all things that I should have. This is the category that makes my budget sustainable. Okay, it's when I try and skimp on survival. Survival doesn't mean just getting by and clawing, trying to get to the next financial oasis of my paycheck. That's not survival. Survival means that I have abundance in these areas. So if I am trying to be sustainable, I'm going to make sure that I have that category covered. And then fives, of course, are things that produce income. So unsustainability is big. Unsustainability makes somebody not stick with the plan. Unsustainability means that we get eager and we go to the gym 3 times a day for every single day the first 2 weeks, get burnt out, and then quit. So the budget is great, but I want you to realize that there's the sustainability aspect. Now, the other thing we've got to include here is income, right? So this is the other part. Like we said, the income equates to like our diet, right? So one of the things that can derail us is not enough income. That's kind of like our financial diet. What are we taking in? What are we bringing in? What's coming in? What's our top line? What's our revenue, right? So if I'm going to the gym and I'm not eating enough, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to be malnourished. I'm not going to see results. Right? Did you know, and I talked about this last week, somebody that's in a caloric deficit, meaning they're not eating enough calories to a degree that they go to the gym and they're not eating enough, their body will actually burn muscle and retain fat. It's going to do the opposite of what their goals are. Most of us don't know that, but if you diet down, let's say I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on 1,000 calories a day and I'm going to train for marathons. I'm going to be what I call skinny fat. My body's going to burn all my muscle off because muscle is something that it can get away and it has less calories. It's going to store my fat because the fat has 9 calories per gram. The muscle only has 4. Right? So it's actually going to do the opposite. Similarly with finances, if I'm not earning enough income, I'm not going to be able to sustain because I can only budget so far. I can only bring my expenses down so far before I run out, before I'm at the point of not even making enough income in the first place. So I have to earn a good income. How do you earn a good income? Go exchange with other people. It's knowledge value exchange, right? Knowledge value exchange. So I have to make sure that I'm earning enough income so that I actually have something to budget with, so that I'm not, focusing on how do I spend less money on rent and hamburger meat, but I don't even bring enough money to cover my bills in the first place. Okay, because here's the deal. The government, they can't keep giving you stimulus checks. Even if they could, you shouldn't want that money, right? So really focus on the income. And if I don't, that's something that can interrupt my progress. That can derail me, right? So this is another one that I want to cover. This is kind of like having cheat meals. In bodybuilding with nutrition. So when I was a personal trainer and a bodybuilder, once a week or so, I would have what's called a cheat meal. I'd stick to my diet. I would do everything I could as perfect as I could throughout the entire week. And then I would get to like Saturday and I would have what was called a cheat meal, meaning I could go have an entire pizza, or I go get a burger and fries or a milkshake or something like that. That's something I would build into this as well. Right? Have a cheat meal with your income. If you're like me and you'll work freaking 90 hours a week to increase your income, once in a while, take a day off. That's like having a cheat meal. Once in a while, that variance, that variety, that time off helps, because it gives you that moment of, okay, I can actually breathe, I can pause. Okay. So give yourself some time. And again, we're doing a 90-day challenge. So every day we do need to be doing this, but take some time. Like make sure you're doing other things, not just earn, budget, train. That's the big 3 challenge. Yeah, we do those every day, 3 times a day, but you should be doing other things too, things that you enjoy. Freaking go to the gym, spend time with your family, walk your dog. I don't know what you like to do, but if you don't add these pleasurable experiences, then finances become the salt mines real fast, man. Real fast, because all you do is learn about the money and earn the income and then budget the income and then never enjoy any of it. So like I said, schedule what I would call a cheat meal, something you enjoy. Okay, something you enjoy, something that is going to give you some energy, whether that's once a week or once every couple of days, whatever it would be. Right now with my real like actual physical diet for my body, I have a cheat meal every 4th day. Every 4th day I have a high carb day. I can eat some pizza, a burger, whatever I want to eat, right? So that's something I build in with my finances too. I make sure that I'm actually, if it's income, I reward myself for some of the income I'm earning. Right? If I'm budgeting, if I save some money, maybe I get to save some of that money aside and do something I enjoy with it. Okay. So basically this is something I'd plan for. That's going to help you stay on track. Now, the other one here that can derail us is too many products. Okay, too many products, financially speaking. And this is where a lot of people start when I meet with them, right? My average client, they're already working a good job, right? They already kind of sort of have a budget. Maybe they've done Dave Ramsey before. Maybe they've done something. And so they're doing okay with their behaviors and habits. It's kind of average, but they have the mortgage and they have the student loan and they have the 401k and they have the mutual fund and they have the annuity and the life insurance and the car insurance and the taxes and the this and the that. And they have too many things. Right? With working out, I would relate this to having too many supplements going on. Okay. If you own every single supplement out there, like you're going to forget, like, which ones do I take when, what's the purpose of this? You've got so many wires crossing that they start interfering with one another. Right. And so that's actually something that can derail a person because it leads to a state of confusion. So when I have products and services, I need to realize those are supplementary. Chiefly is my behavior. Those products and services cannot change my behavior. A sacred account will not change your behavior. Owning gold and silver will not change your behavior. Having private placement investments will not change your behavior. And so if I have the mindset of my behavior matters first, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to add the supplements. I'm going to add the supplements in. I'm going to get the products and services in order to enhance what I'm already doing. Right? That's the key, enhancing what I'm already doing. That's my focus here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm going to add those things in and I'm going to add them in at the right times so that I'm able to stay organized and have clarity on what each thing does. And I can actually see the results with it. See, when I was a bodybuilder, when I worked out, this is what would happen is initially I'd see all these supplements. I'd be like, man, that looks cool. That looks cool. I'm going to get this one. I'm going to get that one. I would add them all in. And then I couldn't tell which ones were working. I added like 6 or 7 new things all at the same time. I couldn't see when results were happening. What were they linked to? Right? So I didn't know if it was the pre-workout. I didn't know if it was the creatine. I didn't know if it was the vitamins. I didn't know any of those things. All I knew was I'm taking all this stuff. I'm starting to make results happen. And I don't know if I should get rid of any of these things because I don't know which ones are working or not. And that's the problem. It's not that there's too many things and they're all producing results. It's that certain things aren't producing results. And so if I add all of these services, I can't identify which ones don't work and get rid of them because I don't know. I added 6 things at once. So there's no way for me to pinpoint and figure that out. And if I cancel the wrong one, who knows what happens? Okay, so that's something that's real and it's not talked about very much. The financial industry, like I talked about, they operate like a buffet. Dude, you want something, they'll load your plate up. They'll give you any product and service you ask for because their job is to sell you things. Their job is to sell you retail financial products so that they can make a fee or a commission, and that's it. They work for Wall Street as a distribution force. That's it. Okay, so if I realize each of these things have a result, and I need to understand what results being produced, which ones are productive, which ones are leading to my goals, which ones aren't, I should know these things before I get them. Because if they don't, I shouldn't even sign up for them. They shouldn't even be things that I add to my plate, right? So those are some of the areas that we can look for. Now, the other thing that can happen is we can have financial incidents happen. I would call these accidents. It's kind of like getting injured in the gym, right? Who's ever been injured before? Whether you played sports or whether you worked out, injuries suck. Okay, I hate being injured. I don't like it when I can't go to the gym, when I can't work out because it stops my progress. The same thing can happen with finances. Okay, we got a couple questions on Instagram. We answer questions at the end, guys. So go ahead and drop those in the comments. We will answer those at the very end. But guys, accidents, financial accidents, these are basically kind of tying off the last one. Okay, when I get too many products, I can get unintended consequences, right? Things that I didn't realize would happen, like maybe a tax problem, right? Like, so for example, a good example that I would point out in 2020, if you bought a bunch of Bitcoin, I don't own any Bitcoin. Let's say you did though, you would have a capital gains tax problem. Bitcoin went from what, 20,000 to 55,000. That's awesome. But now if you sell it, you've got to pay whatever your income tax rate is on that money. If you're from 20 to 50 and you're at a 30% tax bracket, that's a lot of freaking taxes. That's an accident waiting to happen. As soon as you sell, boom, right? Tax problem, right? So these are things that we have to watch out for, because these are not things that, like the accidents that can come up, the unintended consequences that come up. These are not things that we typically see ahead of time. They happen. All of a sudden there's this big emergency. There's this big fire that happens and we have to stop all other things and go focus on this. Right. Another example, if I own a business and I'm not doing my bookkeeping and now tax time comes up and I've got to work with my tax guy and he says, send me your profit and loss. And I'm like, what the hell is a profit and loss? I haven't been doing a profit and loss. Nobody taught me that. I don't have a QuickBooks account. Right now there's an accident. The tax deadline is next week and I don't have any of that stuff ready. And now I'm going to be late and I have to stop everything to go handle this fire. And so I stopped training and I stopped earning, I stopped budgeting because I have to handle this giant emergency that just came up. Okay. So these are things that we've got to watch out for as well. And if we can predict these, again, this kind of ties to having the right products and services at the right time, organizing them correctly. This is all the stuff we handle on our blueprints. Okay. Now the final couple that I want to cover, and I'm going to cover a few more here, are wrong people. Okay, again, we're talking about things that can derail us, things that can distract us. A thing that can distract me from my finances is I decide finances are important. I decide I want to earn more income. I decide I want to understand money. I decide that I want to start accounting for my expenses. And then I make the mistake of telling my friends and my family and all the people that I'm used to spending my time with that that's what I'm doing. And they say, Jerry, that's dumb. You're an idiot. Nobody cares. All you care about is money. Why would you do that? Enjoy life. Stop and smell the roses. And they start poo-pooing on what I'm doing, right? Who's ever had that happen? That happened to me immediately when I started focusing on finances. I was spending time with the wrong people. Guess what? A lot of these people have the same last name as you. That's tough. You might have to spend a little bit less time with them, right? A lot of these people might be people that you went to school with. A lot of these people might be people that you're used to spending time with. Now, if you start doing this, similar to if I start going to the gym, but I hang out with people that they overeat, they smoke, they drink, they don't work out, they're going to think it's weird that I'm going to the gym. They're going to think it's weird that I'm on a diet. They're going to think it's weird that I stopped drinking. They're going to think it's weird that I don't do the same behavior, right? That's not encouraging to my goal. That can actually derail me because if I care so much about their opinion, and a lot of times I do, because like I said, they might be the same, they might be relatives. They might be the people that I'm used to spending a lot of time with. And so I care about their opinions. Otherwise, they wouldn't be my friends and family. So if they start tearing me down and ripping my backbone out with my goals on a weekly basis or a daily basis or a monthly basis, that's going to prevent me from making progress. Okay, so I have to look at that and realize I need to align with people that actually care about money. This is one of the things that we try to solve for our clients. We have a Facebook group where all of our clients can get on and network together called Wealth Dynamics University. Okay, Wealth Dynamics University, we've got about 1,000 clients total. About half of those are probably in Facebook. Okay, and so our clients can network with people that actually have financial goals. That when they say, hey, I did the 1 to 5 game, their friends that are in this group aren't saying, what is that? Why'd you do that? That sounds stupid. Right? Or they're not encouraging them to go blow money on the new PlayStation 5, or the biggest talk of the week is the fact that they got a $1,400 subsidy check from the government, right? Like, you need to have the right people, because that is who you're influenced by. That's who you're going to play towards. So that's super important, right? So if we add all these things up, like we've talked about a lot today, but if we add all of these things up, this adds up to things that can derail us, that if we don't think about ahead of time, it's going to pull us off of our goals. Okay. The other one that I want to hit here, this is, let me grab my pen. Right. The other one that I'm going to hit here, this is media and politics. Right. Let me go ahead and point this out. Media and politics, all they want is your time and your money. Okay. The news, all they want is you watching and buying whatever they're advertising for, so they can sell more ad space. Right? Politics, all they want you doing is putting your time towards them and voting for them so you can pay your taxes. Right? The media and the news, all they want is your time and money. So if we relate this to working out and dieting, it's kind of like watching fast food commercials while you're on the treadmill. Okay. And I bring that up because I've made that mistake. I was prepping for a show back in a bodybuilding show back in like 2012. And so I'm on the treadmill and I'm watching, food on YouTube, because I'm dieted down after like 16 weeks of dieting. You're craving, because you don't have cheat meals anymore. You're craving everything you can get your hands on. So I'm on the treadmill and I'm watching, the little tasty videos and watching burgers and all this stuff. And it's driving me nuts because it's distracting me from my goals. Okay. This is the equivalent of media and politics. If I am trying to improve my finances, I need to turn the news off and I need to forget about Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and all those other old white guys that want me to vote for them. They can't help me with my finances. In fact, they're going to do the opposite. All the government can do is take money. The government does not give me money. The government doesn't produce anything. The government doesn't bring in revenue. All they do is take. Okay. Same thing with media. The media can't help me. They don't even tell us the truth, guys. So this is something, and I had a client today that said, hey, I was doing great until the elections happened. Like, I was on track with my finances, and then the elections happened, and then all hell broke loose and I lost focus. Okay. And a lot of us did. That's easy to have happen. So sometimes we need to shut that stuff off and realize that that cannot help us improve. Who's in office is not going to fix your finances. They can't change your daily behavior. Okay. A $1,400 stimulus check is not going to change the fact that if I'm unemployed, I'm going to be broke next week anyways. Or if I spend more than I earn, that $1,400 is going to be gone like that. Or if I don't know anything about finances, right, I'm going to put that $1,400 somewhere stupid, or worse yet, I'm not going to realize that that $1,400 check is guaranteeing my future taxation. Right? So media and politics are something that can majorly distract us because it puts our attention on things that we have no cause over. Okay, and we think we do. We think we do because we can vote and we can do this and we can picket, we can riot, we can do all this stuff. That doesn't actually do anything. Right? So I need to look what's in my environment that I can control. Behavior is in my environment. I can control that. That's very definite. Right? Whether I learn about money today, that's very definite. That's in my control. Whether I do something to earn income today, that's very definite. That's in my control. Right? Whether I count for my expenses and reconcile and realize where I'm putting my money, that's definitely in my control. So why don't I do those things instead? Okay. So these are all things that I personally, and just kind of off the top of my head, I'm coming up with based on my own experience. Right? Because like I said, when I first started, I couldn't stay consistent for some reason. I had to really look at what is the reason why. What is the reason why I'm saying I want to improve my finances, yet, we're broke again? What is the reason why I'm saying I want to get out of debt and I did it for a couple of months and now I charged up the credit cards and we're right back where we started or even worse, right? What is the reason why I don't have any investments? There's not a product that fixes that. I'm going to reiterate that. There's not a product that fixes that. There's not an insurance. There's not a savings account. None of those things can change that. It's what do my behaviors add up to? Okay, what do my behaviors add up to? Those behaviors are going to dictate everything about my life. It's not about my gender, my skin color, what country I live in. It's how do I behave with money? Okay, I can be black, I can be white, I can be male, I can be female, I can be American, I can be European, I can be wherever. If I behave poorly with money, I'm going to have bad results with money, and I cannot blame it on any of those factors except for my own behavior. I can behave well with money and successfully with money, and it's going to add up to financial success. And I can't blame that on anything else other than my behavior either. I'm not going to be like, yeah, I worked and saved 40% of my income and all this stuff, and it's the fact that I live in Uruguay. That has no cause over the result. Okay. So how do we master these behaviors? Well, first we have to intend to do them. I'm going to kind of dive into this before we wrap up and answer some questions. First things first, we actually have to intend to do them, right? So we have to set the goal. Okay. We have to set the goal. We've got to have a purpose, a reason why we're doing the goal. Okay. So I need to know, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Why am I doing it? I'm going to write those down. I need to know, what is the goal? I need to know why, and I need to know how I'm going to accomplish that goal. If I don't have those things, it's going to be really hard for me to stick to any sort of plan with consistency. Again, we're talking finances. So what is my goal financially? Why is that my goal? How am I going to achieve it? That's all going to be wrapped up inside my goal and purpose. Okay, then I need to have different rules that I follow. Right? We went over some of those tonight, right? So if we're talking rules, we're saying, okay, every day I'm going to train and learn about money. That's a rule. I've got to follow that just like a rule, right? So this is something I've got to focus on. We've got to look at, why is that a rule? We got to look at, how am I going to practically walk that rule out, right? So that's important to look at. We've also got to look at, what's another one? I'm going to earn income today. I'm going to monitor my expenses today, right? For me, all of the things that I just mentioned, over budgeting, not earning enough income, getting the wrong products and services at the wrong time, hanging out with the wrong people, spending time on news and politics, right? Those are all things for me that I have rules against. I'm not going to do those things. Okay. So if I have these things down, that's going to keep me on track. So there's got to be both sides of that. But if I go into this just saying, hey, I've got good intentions, I want to improve my finances, yet I've got no plan to do it, I've got no path to follow, and I have no prediction on what the obstacles are going to be and how I'm going to stay away from them and handle them, I'm going to have a very tough time sticking with this. Okay, a very tough time. And here's the thing is, this doesn't go away. When I become an accredited investor, I have even more moving parts. Okay, I have even more moving parts. Those moving parts become more complex. I've got more income streams. I've got more expenses. I've got more responsibilities. I've got more things that could go wrong because I have a higher level of responsibility for my finances. So very similar to what we said last week is, if I don't master these at this level, then it's never going to happen for me, because when I become accredited, I'm not going to know how to do any of this stuff. I would argue that I can't become accredited if I'm not doing this stuff. Okay. So guys, what I want to do is I'm going to open this up for questions. We've got maybe 15 or 10 to 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and hit questions. And if you guys have any, drop them in the comments. We will go ahead and jump into Instagram first. Good to see everybody tonight, by the way. Okay, we have a question here. How do you deal with people who have borrowed and refuse to return? That's a good question. So this is from High Rise Mobster. How do you deal with people who have borrowed and refuse to return? I hope this is not like a loan shark, High Rise Mobster. So for me, I don't lend money to people that don't give me collateral. Okay, collateral means that like when you go to the bank and get a car loan, if you don't pay that car loan, they're going to take away your car. When you get a mortgage against your house, you get a loan. If you don't pay the mortgage, they're going to take away the house. So I don't loan money to people unless they've arranged collateral with me. Okay, so that's a preventative step. Another thing is, I don't loan money to individuals. Okay, so it's going to have to be a business or an organization, somebody that has a good revenue stream, because I'm going to charge typically in anywhere from an 8 to a 20% interest rate, depending on what it is and how long they want my money for. Right. So that's another factor. The other consideration is the terms of my loan. If I'm loaning money out, there's something called an amortization schedule, which means how regularly are they paying me back? How much of that payment is going to interest? How much of that payment is going to principal? Somebody that's not paying me back, on a monthly basis with interest or principal or both, probably isn't going to pay me back at the end. So I don't do loans where it's like, hey, here's some money, pay me back in 6 months. Don't worry about making payments. No, I want something from you every month. And if you can't give something to me every month, I'm not loaning money to you. Okay, so those are a couple of things I'd look at. You can also look at credit score. You can look at their finances. Like, those are all preventative steps. Now, if you've already loaned the money, if you've already done the deal and they've not paid you back and you have collateral, you need to seize the collateral. If it was like, hey, I'm going to loan you money against your car, it's time to take the car away. I know that sucks. You're not being a bad person. That was what they agreed to. That's in writing. Okay. Same thing. If it's a house, time to take the house away. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means this person knew full well that they're going to borrow money against their house. And if they don't pay me back, I'm taking the house away. And then they decided not to pay me back, knowing that that would be the case. I don't like it, but that's what we agreed to. And I can't enable them by letting them continue to do that. Right. So that's the thing to do if you have collateral. If you don't, it's going to be tough. Okay, if you just loan someone money and you didn't have collateral and you didn't have any terms and you didn't have a legal contract, it's almost impossible to collect on that. At least you can write it off on your taxes as a loss in some cases. But that's how I would go about that. And again, just do a better job next time on, making sure that those preventative steps are there. Good question. I think that was one of the better questions we've ever had on Instagram. Let's see what else we have here. Nothing so far. Again, if you guys are on Instagram, put your questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those for you guys. Nothing yet. Okay, here's one. Someone asked me, what is the biggest sacrifice that you've made? So I don't really look at it as sacrifices. Sacrifices means that I'm giving something up and it's a negative connotation. I don't make sacrifices. I make investments. Okay, so I could say it's a sacrifice for me to budget, right? To me to not spend money on certain things. It's not. For me, it's an investment. I know that that's going to give me a return. That's why I choose to do it. I could say it's a sacrifice for me to work 80 hours a week instead of 40 because I could go have fun the other 20 hours a week. I don't look at that as a sacrifice. I look at that as an investment. So for me, maybe, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I would have seen those as sacrifices because it's like I'm losing something. But now I look at what am I going to gain? Preemptively, I look at what am I going to gain? And if I don't like what I'm going to gain, I don't do it. That's how investing works. But I don't really look at anything as a sacrifice as much as I look at it as an investment. And if I look at it as an investment, the biggest investment I've ever made is in my own personal development, my own financial education, my own ability. I highly recommend anyone that wants to improve to make that same investment. All right, let's see if we have any other questions here on Instagram. All right, I think that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up on Instagram here for tonight. And we will go ahead and hit our Facebook questions next. Okay, next is Facebook. What's up, Marcus? Good to see you, Aaron. Good to see you, Brad. Good to see you, Josiah. We're not in Florida yet. We're in Arizona. So we're actually driving, me, Lexi, and our dogs. We're driving from California to Florida. So we're currently in Arizona, and we're going to be leaving tomorrow. John Parker, good to see you. Eric Self says girlfriends are both a distraction and a derailment. Eric sounds more like a personal problem to me. John asks, what was number 3? I'm not sure which one you're referring to, John. We went over a lot of different points. Ryan, good to see you. All right. Aaron says, how did you change your behavior when you were broke or depressed and had no mentor? So I would say most of us start there. That's a good question. Most of us start broke. I don't know many people that start with money. Some do, some don't, most don't, I would say. But for me, when I was broke, I wouldn't say I was ever depressed, but I was definitely broke and confused and didn't know how life worked. I changed my behavior by mastering the little things, right? I don't need a mentor to go to the gym, right? I don't need a mentor to make sure that I'm eating the right diet. I don't need a mentor to go study. I don't need a mentor to do any of those things. So with finances, like I don't need a mentor to go work, right? So for me, like that was something where I was like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I control? And so I looked at those factors of, okay, I can go work and earn income. I can read books. I can study. And I took advantage of those things. What I found for me, whenever I got in the phase of feeling like I needed a silver bullet, like a mentor or a mastermind group or some special solution, it usually was an indicator that I wasn't doing the basic stuff, right? Because if I was doing the basic stuff, I would be busy and I wouldn't have time for a mentor. Right now, I haven't had a mentor in years because I don't have time for one. I don't need one. I'm progressing and making things happen on my own. So anytime I felt like I need something exterior to my own ability, for me, that meant that I wasn't staying engaged in the behaviors that I should have been doing. And if I just, start doing the behaviors and being disciplined, and that's really what it comes down to, is discipline and making sure I'm not getting distracted by all this stuff. That's something that gets me back on track and gets me focused again on what I can control. Let's see. Marcus has a question. How hard is it to turn a 401k into starting up with you? So I think Marcus is asking how hard is it to maybe move his 401k over to us? So Marcus, that's a good question. If it's an active 401k at an employer that you work at, you pretty much can't touch it till you quit or retire. So we can't really do anything with it. Then if it's an old plan, I actually own a self-directed IRA company. We do IRAs, 401ks, health savings accounts. And so if it's an old plan, it's something we can roll over to Wealth Dynamics and we can have my team manage it. And so that's actually fairly easy to do. Todd, what's up? Good to see you. Joel asks, define accredited investors. So an accredited investor is somebody, an individual that has $1 million net worth, excluding the value of their primary residence. You can also go by income. So if you're single, it's going to be $200,000 of adjusted gross income for 2 years in a row. If you're married, it's going to be $300,000 in adjusted gross income for 2 years in a row. If you're an LLC or a corporation, it's going to be $5 million in assets. And then that's really it. You can do tests and quizzes with FINRA and the SEC to become accredited, but that's not real. You're not actually accredited. You just have a piece of paper. So those are the definitions of accredited investors. Josue has a question. He says, Jerry, would you consider studying a form of work? I would not. So I guess depending on how you're asking it. So if it's like, does studying earn income? No. Okay, so for me to earn income, I have to have knowledge, value, and exchange. Studying is a component to receiving knowledge, right? But I can't stop there. Knowledge makes me valuable, right? There's knowledge value, but the value is actually not realized till I exchange it to someone else, right? Just with gold, like the value of my gold goes up, sure, but it's not realized till I sell it, right? So if I have a skill or a talent or some area that I have knowledge, I don't consider that income producing until I give it to someone else, until I exchange it with someone else. So yes, studying could be work because you're exerting effort and you're learning, but I think you're asking more like, is that an income source or is that a way of handling that first part of the daily big three of earning income? No, I would study for sure. And then I also make sure I'm doing something outside of myself to bring the income in. Very good question. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and jump up on Zoom here. All right, so you guys should be able to hear me on Zoom. Let me know how my sound sounds here, and we're going to jump into some more questions. All right, so first question here, I'm gonna go through our Zoom questions and see what we have. Brad, good to see you. Nano, good to see you. Jeswin, good to see you. David, how's it going? David says, basketball is on now, but I'm watching again. I wanted to skip tonight, but I'm trying to change my behavior. Thanks, Jerry. That's awesome. That's what it comes down to, guys. Like, again, a lot of this stuff is easy not to do, right? It's easy to just not train. It's easy to just not do the budget day. It's easy to just take the day off and not do anything to earn income. Those things are easy, and it's also very easy to do them, right? The basketball game, like David's saying, that can be TiVo'd. You can watch that later if TiVo is still a thing. But the point is like making things a priority, and it sounds like that's what David did tonight. So that's awesome. All right, sounds like Nano has a question. Let me go ahead and bring Nano on live here.
What's happening, Jerry? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you tonight, Nano?
Doing great, man. Thank you for asking, and thanks for the webinar again.
Absolutely. What is your question tonight?
Awesome. So my question is, how do the general public know what or who to invest with? There's, some people out there that just because they have a quote unquote reputable name due to branding and marketing, such as something as per se a gold fund or some of the nonsense on Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. So this is actually a really good question. So basically what Nano is asking is, how do you know who to invest with? If I'm looking at investing, I can invest with so many different people, right? So what it comes down to is I have to, again, understand what investing actually is. If I look at the root word of invest, if I go back to the derivation or the etymology of that word, it actually means to clothe my capital, right? To clothe my capital. So it's not so much about who do I invest with, where do I invest? It's more about answering questions about when I'm clothing my capital, what am I clothing it with, right? So when I clothe myself, my rules are I only wear clothes that I like, right? I only wear clothes that I understand. I only wear clothes that fit me, and I only wear clothes that fit the occasion that I'm going to use them for. That's it, right? So those are the 4 things I look for. When I'm investing, I only invest in things I like, right? I only invest in things that I understand. I only invest in things that fit me, and I only invest in things that fit what I'm going to be using them for. Now, nowhere in there do I mention the brand. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it's with. Does it do those 4 things? With clothing, I've seen name brand clothing that doesn't do those 4 things, so I don't buy it. It doesn't matter that it's Gucci or it's whatever. If it doesn't fit me and if it's not something I understand or like and it's not going to help me achieve my goals, I don't need it, right? So that's what I would look at there with investing. Does it do those things? And if so, that's great. That's the main thing. Now, the other problem we run into is in the day of technology, anyone can look like an expert. Okay, anyone can look like an expert. So just because somebody has a reputable name, that's just branding. It means that they're paying someone to do their logos and their content. They maybe have a book or 2 out. They might do courses. But some of these guys that have branding and a reputable name from insider industry, like experience, I can tell you they're not good people, right? Like they're not people that I would put my own money with. Now everyone has to do their own exploring and their own research, but some of the most popular names out there are people I would never give a dime of my money. So really look at, instead of who is it with, do I like them? Do I like their content? Because I'm a guy that's online too. I might be full of shit, right? I could be 100% lying through my teeth every single week. You wouldn't know that unless you looked at, does this fit me? Is it something I like? Is it something I understand? Does it fit my goals? And does it actually work, right? Does it actually produce the results that I'm looking for? So those are the main things that I would look at, Nano, to answer your question. That's a super good question. And again, like the marketing, the brand, that stuff's not really important. One of the best investors I know that I put lots of my own money with doesn't even have a website and an email. Nobody knows who this guy is, but he's been in the investing game for 40 years, and he's probably the best, most experienced investor that I've ever met. So that's a good question there. I don't think we have any other questions on Zoom. Let me see if we have anything else here. That really covers it. Let me see if we have anything else on Facebook. Josue says, so true, work involves exchange. Got it, and thank you. Awesome, yeah, totally. It's, again, knowledge, value, exchange. Those 3 have to be there for the income to show up. And if you do, the income will show up. I promise you that. All right, I think that that is all that we have for questions. Okay, we have a question here from Jeswin. Let me bring him on live here. I hope I'm saying your name wrong, by the way. I guess we'll find out in a second, won't we? All right, so we are live here with Jeswin. Jeswin, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Jerry. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Am I saying your name okay?
No, you butchered it, but close. It's just
Okay.
one, like just one without the T.
Just one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what is your question tonight?
So my question was, it's very nice to meet you and thank you for, the data, very powerful. The main thing was, before one gets into everybody needs money, obviously, to survive and exchange and be valuable, and get food and all those things. Obviously, we have that need in this material world, let's say, although it's more than that. But is the most important investment not necessarily related to where, how you get the money and where you put it, but actually understanding, like getting the financial education first, and then with that, distribute your time in that world?
Yeah, that's a good question. So just Juan is saying basically, like, does it come down to where do I put my money and what do I do with it? Or does it come down to understanding fundamentally what money is? And I would say definitely both, but the one that takes precedence, and I'm not saying it's more important, I'm saying it comes first. Understand what money is, okay? The biggest one that I would say is understand the difference between money and currency. They're not the same thing. A lot of people have no idea. We'll pull a dollar out of a wallet, call it money. That's not money, that's currency. So if you can really understand the difference between money and currency, because the way that it works is when I work, I'm working actually for currency. Currency is the medium of exchange, right? So it's transferring, whatever I'm trying to get from, in this case, maybe US dollars from this party to this party. That's currency. What I do with that currency is I'm going to save it in money. I don't want to leave it in currency. So I'm going to actually save it in money as a store of value. And then I'm going to convert that money into assets that pay me income in the form of more currency. But it's very hard to master, like, where do I save it? Where do I invest it? If I don't understand the difference between money and currency. And so I definitely would say that that's the case. Invest in that, understand money, understand it fundamentally. And the good news is there's not a ton, it's not a massive topic. There are a few fundamental things you've got to know. And once you know those and they're true for you and you can see them, the rest of it becomes very easy to sort out. So excellent question. All right, let's see if we have any other questions here before we sign off. Just one says, I totally agree, observe, decide, and act. Love it. Okay, guys, I think that that's all we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and sign out for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, if you're a client of mine, let's stay on this big 3 challenge together. Let's really continue with the consistency, the persistency. If you're not a client of mine and you'd like to become one, you can reach out to Nano in the comments. An easy way to start, watch more of our webinars. Go to my YouTube channel, Jerry Fetta. We've got literally hundreds, if not thousands of videos up there by now about money. You can also grab a copy of my new book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F, that's the letter B to the number 2, the letter F. You can get a copy of my book there. That's all we got for tonight, though, guys. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all next week.